Afternoon. We'll wait just a couple more minutes to get everyone in the room. All right, Sam, I see we're streaming. Are you okay?
We're good.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Dorian Thompson, and I have Sam Logan. We're both a part of the alumni team on UNCG, and we have been hosting a couple of sessions pretty much around 2 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We call them our coffee hours to give you guys some tips. You all being alumni, new graduates, people that are going in careers, just kind of give you a little bit of a refresher and a little bit of fun break with all that we have in COVID. So now we have Shona Myers that is hosting this awesome session. I'm very excited, and she has her rosé with her.
Cheers.
Shona is a 2005 graduate of UNC Greensboro. She majored in exercise and sports science. And then she actually went on to guest relations and working now in LA. She is one of our proud leads for the LA Alumni Network. And she actually hosted some of our office while we were down there, which was amazing. And now I'll hand it over to Shona to give you a little bit more information about her and to start the session.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. I'm really excited. I just launched Resumé and Rosé last month from home, obviously, because we're all stuck there. My background, like Dorian said, I'm a UNCG grad. I graduated and had no clue what I wanted to do. Shocking. I'm sure some of you may feel the same way, but professional sports sort of fell in my lap and customer service, and I just fell in love with it. So it's sort of evolved. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I love resumes. I love resume building, and I've kind of turned it into this at-home consulting company that I've decided to launch during the COVID pandemic, because I feel like so many people are out of jobs and just need help. So Resumé and Rosé is my latest venture, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I know Sam's gonna kind of monitor Facebook, and because I don't know how to do it. So
we'll also be doing the questions here too. We'll wait till the very end, but if you guys have any questions, please pop them in the chat, and you also feel free to unmute and put your video on at the very end. She'll give some time for questions. But with that, yeah, we'll start.
Great, thank you guys. Okay, so let's jump into Resumé and Rosé. Cheers, guys. Let's make resume building fun. So just a quick background on the services that I work on. Resume consulting, building a resume from scratch, editing existing resumes, but also really formatting and, you know, have it sort of eye-catching without being kind of too over the top. Also interview prep. I feel like it is something that is so intense and scary for most people, me included, but it's something I've done so much in my career that I now enjoy it and want to help and share other people enjoy it too and not be so intimidated by it. But really conducting face-to-face interviews, also phone calls, because usually the first interview is a phone call, but really getting you prepared for in-person, video, phone call interviews. And then also I'm going to be launching, it says coming soon. Now soon is, we'll see how soon, but online and in-person seminars. So my goal initially when I created Resumé and Rosé was to do these seminar luncheons, but obviously with COVID, in-person is not really an option right now. So sort of these Zoom sessions like this where it's gonna be, you know, pour yourself a glass of rosé. I'm sorry, I can't do it for you, only if you're 21 or older. And then we'll host these consulting service, you know, going over what I'm doing, some tips and tricks to really be prepared for your resume and your interview. And obviously, if you have further questions, I'm there. I will be announcing everything on Instagram. I do not have a website. It's all Instagram based or email based, and I'll have my contact information at the end. But from there, I really want to jump into sort of what I'm doing, and I'm going to tie it in a little bit to stuff that I've experienced, just because I think that can be really helpful. So my career has been in professional sports and college athletics. I actually worked for UNCG Athletics Department a few years back, but really professional sports. So I worked for NFL teams, NBA teams, things like that, big venue events. I have hired, fired, and trained, I can't tell you how many people, and I have read tens of thousands of resumes over my career. So that is why I love resumes. Let's start with your resume. If you're just coming out of college, you just want a one-page resume, and you want it to be a full one page. You don't want a lot of white, a lot of open space. You don't want 2 pages. You're just out of college. You might have some really good experience, but you're probably applying to more beginner entry-level type positions, and they don't need to see a novel. If I'm the hiring manager, HR, and I get a novel, it kind of just immediately sort of deters me a bit. So really make sure your resume is a strong one page and it's full of good content. Grammar and spelling is one of my huge pet peeves. If someone applies for a job and they put their name in all lowercase letters because they think it might be cute, it's a huge red flag for me. So it may seem really cute and it might look, cool and kind of hip, but no, use proper grammar. Make sure you really edit your resume. You've looked at your resume for countless hours working on it, so you might miss something. The best trick that I have learned is read your resume out loud to yourself. So be in a room by yourself and just read it out loud. You will catch, I can't even tell you how many mistakes you'll catch. Punctuation is huge as well. So really pay attention to those details, because I do. That's actually my number one step. So if I have a stack of 200 resumes for a job that I'm hiring, the first thing that will get you out of my pile is if you have grammar or spelling mistakes. It just makes it easy for me. It's like, okay, grammar and spelling, they're out of the pile. Then I go down to experience and more of the nitty gritty. Formatting. Formatting is something you hear a lot. I don't know if everyone truly understands what that means, but when I look at a resume, is there a lot of, are your margins super far over, and is there a lot of white dead space on your resume? Basically, does it look like you're trying to make it seem like you've done more than you have? Is your header, is your name like a size 30 font and the rest of it is a 12? Things like that. So really look at what your resume looks like. And also you can always Google what resume examples and look at something that looks really cool. But also you don't want it to be so kind of intricate that the hiring person looks at it and is like, okay, where am I supposed to go next? Here's your name, here's the experience, there's a line down the middle, there's all these sections. There's nothing wrong with a good, strong, traditional resume. You can put your personality into it with your font selection. I highly recommend selecting 2 fonts, one for the body and then one for your headers and your name, so that they go together, but it does stand out a little bit. I think it can show some creativity and a little bit of personality. I do tend to think putting your picture on your resume is wasted space and it's not needed. I've seen it before countless times. I don't necessarily agree with it. I've never done it. I've never recommended it. But that's something I'd be happy to answer questions on. Regarding formatting, you want your margins to line up. You want it to look clean and professional. The way I like to explain it is, this is your one page you're presenting to somebody else, and if it's a little sloppy or it's not sort of, I don't want to say perfect, but if it's not in order and in line and organized, you're kind of telling that employer, I'm not detail oriented. If there's spelling errors or grammar issues, you know, I'm not detail oriented. And, you know, I'm not super meticulous. And like, that's what people want from an employee. They want someone that's super, you know, hands-on and detail oriented, and that's really going to present, you know, the perfect product, whatever that is in whatever industry. So I hope that makes sense. But really, I feel like if someone hands me a resume with typos, what's to say they're not going to email a client with typos? You know, we don't want that out there. So really take it seriously, and put the time into making sure that it's ready to go. Okay, let's move on to the search. So the search for a job in this market is very unique, but just in general, it's tough. And I put here full-time job. That doesn't mean that you're looking for a full-time job. That means your full-time job right now should be looking for a job. So whether you want to clock in at 8 or 9 during the day, you need to really commit the time. You want to read the job descriptions thoroughly. Like, I know they're hard to read because they're really long and they just go on and on and on, but it's super important to read it because you want to make sure that, yes, this job may sound appealing, but if you really read the job descriptions, you'll get a better idea of, okay, can I do this? You know, that's the biggest thing. You know, is this something that I can contribute to and give, you know, be a good fit for, but also really learn and develop in this role too. So it's easy to see a title and read the first line and say, oh, that sounds sweet, but read every line. It's super important. Be open to possibilities. With that, I will tie that sort of back to my experience. So like I said, when I graduated college, I was bartending in Greensboro and I had zero clue on what I wanted to do with my life. I packed up my car, I moved to Seattle, I'd never been, and I left my resume with the former Seattle Supersonics, who called me, and I got an entry-level sales position. I do not see myself as a salesperson. It's never been my favorite role, but I knew that it was somewhere I needed to start to get to where I needed to go. So I did it. I worked my tail off, and then I was able to learn the organization from that sales position. Even though I was never number one on the sales staff, it just wasn't my niche. It wasn't my passion. But I found out that I loved customer service. So after working my tail off and proving myself for a bit, then I was able to move on to another organization. I moved down to Oakland with the Raiders, and that's where my customer service experience went off. So I was with them for 5 years, and it just my job sort of took me all over the country. I ended up in Atlanta. I ended up, you know, now I'm in LA and whatnot. But, you know, it was something that if you would have asked me at graduation day from UNCG, that would have been my career, I would have probably laughed and said, no, I don't know if that's going to be my path, but it was, and I loved it, loved every second of it. So when you're looking at job opportunities, broaden your search, be open to other avenues, but also know that if you're going for that entry-level job, it might not be your dream job, and that's okay, but it will get you to that next step. So it really is important to be open to opportunities that might not necessarily be sort of where you see yourself for 20 years, but maybe you see yourself there for a year or two, and then it gets you to that next step. Be open to, you know, those entry-level positions, because when you're in those, I tell you what, the upper management loves that eager beaver in the entry-level job that wants to ask questions or wants to shadow you. So when you're looking, broaden that search. It's really important. And then I put location, relocation instead of a third location. Little play on words, but if you're currently living, wherever you're currently living, if you're in Greensboro or you're not, where are you willing to move? I think you need to spend some time really asking yourself that. Are you someone that does not want to leave your town ever? You're happy there, you're comfortable there, you're not comfortable being away from your family. I think you need to spend time really reflecting what are those parameters for your job search. For me, I was very comfortable being away from my family for a time period, but so I could move across the country. I could just pack up my life. I lived, every apartment was made from IKEA furniture and I could just get rid of it and buy it again. So it was very easy to relocate for me. And I made it that way because that's how the job opportunities were in my industry. And with most industries, if you narrow yourself to a really small geographic area, the opportunities are less, right? It's kind of common sense. The bigger the area, the more opportunities. I'm not saying that that means you have to broaden your scope, but I'm saying really take some time to think about what you'd be willing to do and where you'd be willing to go and how comfortable you would be with those new experiences. That being said, just reflect on that. And then once you start searching, then look into that. Because also too, when you're young and fresh out of college, that's the time to explore and travel and have fun. And I mean, it was a blast. But once I got to my late 20s, I was like, I miss my family. I want to be home. And so I moved back east. Now I'm back in California, so I'm 3,000 miles away from them again, but I miss them terribly. But it was fun it was fun. I did the away, I did the back home, and it was great. So really just take some time and think about what works for you and your needs and your family's needs. Applying for the job. So job descriptions. I mentioned this earlier, but I cannot stress this enough. You will hear from people, apply to everything. Just apply, apply, apply. I don't necessarily 100% agree with that because there's been times as the hiring manager where I get those resumes and I'm like, why are you applying to this job? There is just not, it's just sort of kind of wasted time. And, those hiring managers already have hundreds of resumes, it's tough. So if it's something that is so far out of your wheelhouse, don't apply to it just to apply to it. Really make sure that there is a connection there, that there is something that you can provide that opportunity and vice versa. So, some people say, well, they might look at your resume and say, oh, well, we have this other job opportunity. I mean, could that happen potentially? But what I would suggest is if you learn about a company that looks like a company you want to work for, I would suggest instead of applying to any job they're posting, go on LinkedIn, find a few people that work there, type up a really nice email and send it to those people saying, look, I noticed you're hiring some positions. I don't think they're the best fit for me, but I really like what your company has to offer and what I could offer your company. I'd love to send my resume along for, your HR director to have for any future opportunities, but I just really want to put it out there that I really am interested and intrigued by your company, and maybe offer to say, hey, is there a chance I could talk to you on the phone and learn even more about your company? That way you're making that personal connection, and it really is, it's a stronger connection than just hitting apply and sending your resume in to a job that isn't the best fit for you. So I hope that makes sense. But I take it from the seat of I've hired and had to look through those resumes. So what would make me as the HR person or the hiring manager, really look at a candidate? And so that personal touch through LinkedIn has always been a success. And I've enjoyed meeting those people that have reached out to me. So then I put a numbers game. There's the sales. So in sales, it's the more calls you make, the more sales you make, the more, visits, meetings you have, the more deals you close, all those things. It's true. The more jobs you apply to, the more likely you are to get an interview. But going right into number 3, where it says follow up, if you are looking for jobs and applying for jobs and you're just hitting apply, and then you're just kind of thinking, I've applied to 20 jobs this week. Like, why have I not heard from anybody? If you're just clicking apply and then kind of fingers crossed, I should get an interview, that's not how, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a long process and it could be really tough. My suggestion is you need to follow up. If you're just clicking apply, thinking that you're just going to magically get all these calls, that's just not how it is right now, or has been. I want to see you go on LinkedIn, look up to see if you can find the hiring manager. You might not know, so that's okay, but you can find someone at the company and you could say, hey, I see that you're working in the customer service department of X, Y, and Z company. I just applied for this position. Don't know who the hiring manager is. I'm really excited about this opportunity. Is there any way you could share with me the hiring manager's name, or could you pass along my information, because I'm, kind of just get excited about it and share that with them. Say, I really am excited about this opportunity and really think that I would be a good fit. There is nothing wrong with being very kind of, I'm going to say aggressive, but in a kind, friendly way, but being aggressive about wanting a job. Say, I want this job. I really think I'm a good fit for it. So, be proactive. The more you just kind of sit back and hit apply, yes, of course, someone's going to get a call back, but it's just put yourself out there and really kind of attack job searching like it's your full-time job now. So, and you'll see the successes and you'll see a lot more interviews, and you might get through 6 different interviews, and during the interview you might be like, I actually really don't want to work for that person. They didn't sound really fun, or they didn't sound like a company that I really think, and that's okay. You can say no, but you want to practice, you want to get those interviews, and you kind of want to get to that next step, because you'll know when the right opportunity comes about. Let's see, how am I doing on time? Okay. I kept my presentation super short because I really wanted to answer some questions, but this is something that I have done my whole 12 years in professional sports and entertainment, and I love it. I totally geek out over it. It's my favorite. And I love working with people on it. So I welcome any questions. I'm excited to hear from you. And I just recently joined the shopspartan.org app, or not app, website, technical terms. I know. But I've put up a UNCG alumni special. So for anybody that wants to work with me, there's a great alumni special out there for you to take advantage of. You can email me, follow me on Instagram. I would love to get to know you, pour a glass of rosé, and learn about your career goals. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble for a short period of time, and I will open up to questions.
So we had one question come in. It said, what would you recommend if you have over 10 years of experience in one industry and need to change it all around? So career transition, and then need to edit your resume to make it 2 pages, when in reality it's 3 pages. So
ooh, yes, that's a
couple
long
of things. Yeah.
Great question. So first, to get it down to from 3 pages to 2 pages, so you're going to want to take some of that earlier experience off. So I think my first resume had that I worked at Starbucks and I was a lacrosse coach and those types of things. So the later you get in your career, you're going to slowly start to chop things off the bottom of that work experience train, because you'll talk about it in your interview and when you get to know the person. Also, the bullet points. So if you have 10 years experience in one industry, I'm going to go ahead and guess most likely you've probably had maybe multiple positions with that company. You've worked your way up. So you've got now different sections with a lot of different bullet points. So tailor those down based on what you're looking to do. So if you were a manager in that industry and you've got all this management experience, but then you also have sales experience and this and that, but you're now looking to become a manager in a different field, keep a lot of those management bullet points to describe what you've done, but maybe a little less on the sales or less on the administrative or those types of things. So you can really start to tailor those back. You don't have to tell them everything you've done. You just need to really pick the highlight, like the big wows of your career, but also what speaks to what you're looking to do. So like I've done HR in my background, I've done customer service, I've done event planning, I've done a lot of different things within sports and entertainment. But if I'm going for an HR job, I'm gonna make my resume a little bit more HR friendly and less, you know, customer service stuff. Still important and translates, but it doesn't need to be heavy in customer service. I hope, does that make sense? I hope so.
And it looks like we have another question. So how do you follow up when it basically says don't follow up? I've applied to places that say don't inquire about applications or calls or emails.
So totally agree. Because yeah, I've been in that position where I've been swamped with resumes. I'm like, oh my God, if someone reaches out to me, like I just don't have the time. So I get that. What I would do is I would send, if you felt comfortable doing it, I mean, it's fine. There's some jobs you're just going to apply to and not follow up. It's okay. I didn't follow up on every single job, but first step, look on LinkedIn. Is there anyone that you are connected with that works at that company? So if there is, reach out to that person and say, hey, I know there's no follow-up, but is there any way you can maybe just put in a good word for me? Say, hey, I happen to know one of the applicants. You know, they're actually worth checking out. You know, real casual. If that's not the case, you can always just send a handwritten card and say, I know it's so cheesy, that totally ages me right there. But a handwritten card that says, hey, I'm super excited. And if you're really excited about the work opportunity, I'm really excited about this opportunity. I know you're swamped. Even call it out, say, I know you said no follow-up, but I just wanted to say good luck. And I really hope I hear from you. I tell you what, a handwritten card goes a long way. I've even heard of people sending like coffee to like, you know, sending coffee or something, you know, because you know they're working a lot and maybe your area is known for coffee. Like when I was in Seattle, people would send coffee because, you know, Starbucks, but all that good stuff. But yeah, so a handwritten card is always quite nice.
I'll say now too, if anyone else has questions, we have it to where you guys can unmute and show your video if you'd like to ask any more. I don't see any more in the chat right now, but we still have a couple minutes. And if you guys have also any other questions, we are going to send out an event survey at the end of this, along with the slides, just as a follow-up. So along with Shona, like I said, you can look up her information on shopspartan.org, along with other businesses that have alumni tips. Oh, we have another question. It's general tips on cover letters.
Ooh, cover letters. Yes. I look at a cover letter as a way to show your grammar, spelling, and writing ability. So it's almost like a homework assignment, in my opinion. I want to see that you can put together a strong, short, almost sales pitch of yourself that is done proper grammar, proper spelling, and all of that. And also making sure that the formatting of it is very professional. So I love a cover letter. I literally am reading it to see if someone can articulate, because resumes are bullet points. Bullet points are easy, but this is like a little mini essay. So I love a cover letter. Do not make it a full page, at most half a page, and make sure it is formatted properly. You've got the company's address information, your address information, and be confident in it. In my cover letters that I've always submitted, towards the end, it is, I know that I would be a good fit for this role, and I really look forward to talking with you and learning more. So being super confident and saying, yeah, I know you should interview me, because I will give your company, I will provide your company with some great things, and you're going to provide me with some great things. So why wouldn't you want to hire me? So yeah, be confident. And also Google examples, see what sounds good, what doesn't. You don't want it to be super cheesy. But another point to a cover letter is also where I have always expressed my willingness to relocate, because that's something that you don't really do on your resume. So if I'm applying to a job in Atlanta, I always liked putting something like, with family ties in Atlanta, it's a place that I really would be, comfortable relocating to, or, eager to relocate to. So that way the employer's thinking, oh, yeah, they're out of town applicants, but they have a connection to Atlanta, which makes their relocation super easy. It doesn't have to be a family connection. It just could be a willingness to relocate. I definitely put that in your cover letter.
All right, so we have one last question. Were there any recommendations on how to interview via Skype or FaceTime?
Yes. Because that's probably what most interviews are going to be these days. So make sure you've got at least something in the background, nothing too distracting, but just something so it's not, I don't know, just have a little something behind you. Obviously, like right now, I'm wearing sweatpants because you're not seeing the bottom half, but make sure your top half is presentable. You don't have to be in a suit because you're also at home, but definitely for females, have your hair done, have some type of blouse. For guys, maybe just a button-down shirt or a polo, but also have your questions and things next to you. So like right now, I have my little notebook because I took notes on stuff that I wanted to make sure that I said. You guys didn't know that until I showed it to you. It's just on my lap. It's right here. But when you're talking to them, take notes and tell them you're taking notes. Say, hey, I've got a notepad here. Do you mind if I take notes during this? Because I really want to make sure that I don't miss anything. And then say, yeah, I do have a few questions, and kind of look down to your questions. It just shows initiative and that you prepared for this. I can't tell you how many times I've set up an interview and they're just kind of like, yeah, but like be prepared and be ready, because the more ready you are and the more prepared you are, it shows me that you're actually serious about this job. And do research on the job and present that. And when you're talking to them, be confident. Look them in the eye, make that contact. Don't get all kind of distracted with what's around you. Turn off your phone, but really come across as comfortable and confident.
And we have one last question from Facebook, and then we'll wrap up in just a few. How can you sound confident in your cover letter without sounding arrogant?
Ooh, choice of words. That's a good one. Saying that you, that's a really good one. Choice of words is huge. So, And also when you write it, so what I would do is I would almost speak your cover letter and like do just like a sloppy draft. So sit at your computer, type out what you want to say, and then start tailoring it back. So it might come out as sounding kind of cocky, but then you're going to start to like business edit it down and say, okay, that, and then when you read it out loud to yourself, you're like, that sounded a little on the edge. How could I make that sound more business like? Without sounding too cocky, but also not only saying that, when I like to say that I know that I am a good fit for this role, I also like to add that I also want to learn from you. So that takes that like arrogance out of it. It's, yes, I can provide a lot, but I also want to learn a lot. And that shows sort of a nice balance. And I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shona.
Thank you guys.
I got my cup now, so I was ready in our session.
Well, cheers to everybody.
Alumni store.
I mean, it's 11:30 in LA, a little early to start drinking, but yeah.
For the sake. But I just want to thank you and everyone else for joining our session. Again, we'll have these slides available for you on email, and we'd love if you guys could take a quick survey so we could do more sessions like this, probably around 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But if there are no more questions, then we'll sign off. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. I hope to hear from some of you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so do I just hang?